This is a dictation application that works a lot like Whisperflow or Superwhisper, if you're familiar with dictation software or applications. And all it does, you basically speak, and it takes that spoken phrase or the words that you speak at the time and cleans them up. Takes out uhs and other filler words and gives you a clean, straight to the point recording or transcript, if you wanted to bring it down to, because it's going to be essentially speech to text. That's what this application does. So it's called Dictator, and we are just going to open Opencode by typing Opencode. Once you have it installed, any folder that you go into, you can type Opencode, and Opencode will make changes only in that folder, unless you instruct it or allow it to go outside of that folder. But you will start, this will be your starting point. So with IDEs, you can click into files, like anti-gravity, for example. With Opencode, you, from your terminal, decide which folder you're going to work out of. You can always tell Opencode in the process that you want to work in a different folder, and it will switch over to that one. So Opencode is just somewhat of an overlay, but as you can see in the bottom left corner down here, builds the dictator, and it says main, which is the root folder of the dictator. If you went into a subfolder in the dictator, then you would basically be operating from that folder to make changes, and would have to instruct Opencode to go outside of that folder, which would be back into the dictator folder, which is the root folder, to make changes there, if that's where you want to make changes. So you can go wherever you want to, but essentially it's always good to CD into the folder and start from there. That way you can get straight to work and you don't have to like mess around with Opencode, and sometimes it's quirks that it has depending on the LLM model that you're using. So in Opencode we have two modes. As you can see right here, it says build, and if you press tab, you can toggle between plan mode, which is always a safer route to take to start off when you don't know what you're doing. But if you've been in here and you planned out a project and it's already built, you can go directly into build mode. I still recommend that you start with plan mode, just to give the LLM a chance to get familiar with the project. So I can now say familiarize yourself with the project. And what that means, it's basically going to go through folders that are in this project and the files, and it's going to logically reason through what this project is, what it does. You could ask it other questions as well afterwards, like what this project does. You can get an opinion about the project from the AI agent. It's pretty much like having a developer on your side that actually knows what he's doing and what he's talking about, while you're just throwing folders with data at it. And that can be said about anything, whether that may be in your personal life, situations that you find like travel planning, or other things that you have to do, calculations of your finances, or having trackers built for like your spending. There's so many different use cases. I mean, pretty much anything you can think of, you can do. But yeah, currently what's happening is, as we're in the plan mode, it is using GLM 5.1 from NVIDIA, which is not going to be the fastest choice. So I could change models and get a faster result. But yeah, I'm just using GLM 5.1 right now because it's a pretty good one overall. I think it's a very good general usage type of model, like GLM, general language model. But no, that's not what it stands for. I'm just saying that's pretty much what it could be for me personally. It's not the very best, but lately it's been working really good for me, especially when it comes to tool calls. Tool calls is when you want an LLM model to basically go online and search for something. That would be a tool call. Or if you wanted it to use the terminal on its own, in its own environment, pretty much, where it basically can input terminal commands that you would have to input if it didn't have tool call ability, and you would have to open a terminal. Like right here in this screen, I would have to open up a new terminal, and then here I would have to write the command in, or copy and paste the command that it gives me, and that way I, as a authority, would pretty much be the one to do that. But if they do have tool calls built in, a lot of times they can call the terminal for you. But this one is pretty good at that. So, yeah. So it's already like figured out what's going on. Like I didn't even really tell it what to do. Or no, it's actually looking at the Git history. Okay, so like yeah, it's looking at the recent Git history. It's familiarizing itself with the project itself because I do have this uploaded to GitHub, which it's freely available in case you want to use this yourself. You can download this if you have Linux running, and then you can use this as well. The only thing I think you need is like a Grok API key, which is free, and yeah, I'm not sure. Everything is in the GitHub project itself. It's called the Dictator, so it should be easy to find. But yeah, it's just going through the file structure, and it's just like reading everything that is on GitHub, which is essentially the folder structure that I have on my machine as well. And it's just learning what this actually does. And once it's familiar with this, I will tell it what the problem is, which currently it activates, but it just doesn't record. And I think it's simply because the server that is generally running to communicate the information back and forth or make the API calls, if you will, is just simply like the bridge is like not there. So like there's no communication happening. I can activate it as much as I want to, but as long as the API does not, or as long as the server does not try to communicate the transcript or the recording to the API server, nothing happens. And that's pretty much where I'm at. Nothing's happening. It shows me that it's recording, but like every time I press the key combination that I set up for this, it just goes into a loop of saying that it's recording, and then when I hit it again, which usually stops the recording, it just says that it's recording. So it's not passing on the information, and that's where it's getting stuck at. So I only know that this is most likely the problem because in the past when I was first building this, it was something that I was running into because I hadn't set it up to automatically start. And if I just restarted the computer, it would automatically start back up. So, but because it just went down, I'm just doing a bug fix at this point. And so, yeah. It's weird for me to like just record all this. Most likely I'm going to cut all this out once this is done. Because real time, this is a pretty slow process. Debugging is very tedious, very slow. Generally what you do is you start the process, walk away, make you a cup of coffee, come back, and check your phone, check your messages, do whatever you want to, and then at some point, you come back and just type in the next step that you want your AI to do for you. So yeah, just checking my messages. Ordered some groceries, so I'm kind of waiting for those. Seems like my guy got to the store. All right, cool. I'm actually going to test a feature. I'm going to pause the recording since I'm supposedly able to do that. Yeah, just cutting back because it started producing an output right here. So it's just going to keep going, but here's a summary of the Dictator project, and it's just loading in what it's learned from the individual files that are attached in the folder structure. And usually since I code and create these with AI, the uploaded GitHub folder structure and files that are in there are pretty easy to read for the AI, of course. For you as well. I think it's pretty legible. But yeah, as you can tell right here, potential issues, it's already like figuring out what's going on. And it's like, what would you like to work on? And now I'm going to describe what the problem is. And so currently, my problem is that when I start recording, nothing seems to happen when I try to end the recording by pressing Alt plus Z for the second time, and it seems as if it just continuously starts the recording process, but never lets me end it. Can you look into why this is happening? And you can stay pretty general. You could, I like to let it figure things out on its own, especially on an application like this, because it's a pretty simple application. There's not much code involved with this. But yeah, I kind of like to keep it general, just so like goes out and just like looks on its own, and then you can also determine like the strength and the power of the LLM this way, and in that way you can slowly discover how much guidance and help you have to give it going forward. You basically grow with like your LLM as well. Like the more you start to understand it, the more you understand its strengths and weaknesses, and the more you can guide it, just like people. It's really not any different. It's really just an employee of yours, and you just have to like try to figure out how it functions, how it works, and then just give it the proper guidance so that it works for you, not against you. And yeah, with that being said, let me pause this video again, and we'll jump back as soon as it has figured out what's going on. All right, let's continue this because we are coming up with a solution. Found the root cause. The logs tell the whole story. This went on for about 3 minutes or something like that, and then I just got this, and it basically says, what's happening, what it was able to find out. That's why every toggle just starts recording and never stops. The recording thread. I mean, feel free to like read this if you want to. It's not going to make any sense if you don't know the code, but pretty much you're getting an error. This is why. Figures it all out. You have a fixed plan right here. Says your device likely only supports mono, one channel. Could be. Prevent a silent crash loop. This is what I think the problem is right here. So self-recording silently set to false with no notification. Okay, cool. Let's see what else we got. Make input device index configurable. Currently hard-coded to 11. This is fragile. Could be moved to config.json. So, I mean, you're basically just getting like a lot of feedback pretty much just based off of the error codes that I read. And that's pretty cool. But now I would be like, okay, are you sure? Sure. We aren't. This is like good practice. Forgetting anything or could be improved. I just do this just to kind of like have the model self-check itself, and yeah, just make sure that it actually came up with the right decision, pretty much. Most likely it's going to reconfirm. This is pretty straightforward, but it's just going to reconfirm that all of this right here makes sense, or the most sense, but it's going to explain itself as well in the process. But it's going to go through like self-evaluation one more time, and so I definitely recommend doing this. Not all the time, but a lot of times if possible, until they have like their own process of self-evaluation. Or if they do, like, I mean, Claude Code might have something like that. Models from Anthropic are pretty accurate most of the times. That's why they are considered state of the art. So, but yeah, I'm going to pause this again and get right back to it in a second. Yeah, so I had to come back a little bit later because, not because it took so long, it really didn't take that long. It went through these steps right here that listed as to-dos. It went ahead and did that itself and basically just created like a little to-do list, which I really like about Opencode. It does this not every time, but it does it when there seems to be more of a long horizon type of completion um, list, yeah. And so it said like all 10 changes are implemented and verified. Here's a summary. So like these were all changes that it basically proposed in the planning mode. And then when we switched over to build, it went ahead and went through these 10 different issues that it found. And I went back and forth with it. As you probably remember, there was like one more instance in between where I just kind of clarified some things. But now I'm going to showcase to you how this works because let's go over the plan real quick just so I don't like really change anything anymore. But you can say you're right here, app starts and detects the default channel via Pipewire. Just found out that Pipewire is something that's built into Linux. Didn't know that. There's another one that's called ALSA. Didn't know that either. Linux is still quite interesting to me in a lot of ways because there's always something new to be found. It says right here, toggle starts recording, no more Erno, which is an error report number of 9998, which caused a crash. Toggle stops recording and processing completes successfully. This also means OPS microphone sharing should not work. So like I didn't have mic sharing working before. So this was like something that I addressed as well in this whole process right here because it was like as it says right here instead of ALSA directly. So it was using the ALSA directly, which did not allow for microphone sharing. Now, from what I understand, microphone sharing does work. So like right now we're recording. Before when I was recording or screen recording, I could not do this right here, what I'm about to show you. So like let's hope that this works. It should. I tested it earlier and it did. So like let's see if it works again. So I'm just gonna like hit my combination of Alt Z and then I'm going to say check double check that everything actually works the way that we planned on it working, for example. So a double check that everything's working the way that we planned on it working. From what I am experiencing, I am actually able, while I screen record in OBS Studio, to also speak into apps and dictate, use the dictator the way it was meant to be used. So there you go. You basically saw it pretty much input the text that I just spoke and shorten it down. It doesn't really like, I don't think it summarizes it. It's like it says right here, a double check that everything is working the way that we plan on it working. From what I'm experiencing, I'm actually able, while I screen record in OPS Studio, to also speak into apps and dictate using the dictation tool the way it was meant to be used. Okay, well, actually, this did summarize it because I do remember saying OBS Studio twice. Now, every once in a while, you run into like a small little issue, like it being misspelled. But for the most part, you have to understand that in this entire program, there is a system prompt. So you can still continuously improve the system prompt itself in a way that it actually relates either corrections on certain words that were misspelled when they were recorded, or you can actually even set up like a help file that is like a pronunciation file, which would be like an MD, a markdown file, .md file that actually gives the AI a reference to which words you pretty much say differently that need to be spelled a certain way. So with that being said, you can actually add that into like the whole process. There's so much you can do. You can do anything that you can think of. You think of it, you spell it out right here, and then once you have like this application working, for example, you don't even have to like write it anymore. You just basically say it and then it does it. And so here we are. Yeah, we just said this and we just activated by pressing enter. So at this point, you just press some kind of combination that you figured in to your system, then you speak it, and then after that you hit enter, and then it does whatever you told it to do. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, honestly. So with that being said, just try it out. It's pretty amazing. This is just scratching the surface with Opencode and me building an app, which this app right here was built in Opencode in probably 20 minutes. And that was me doing it for the very first time. And that was me just like really looking at something that I found online that I thought would be interesting to replicate. So I'm sure you can do it too. You just need to take the time to do it. And 20 minutes is not asking for much. So give it a shot. That's all I can say. Until next time.